So we are at Pro Climber Studio today at Hit V Hype. We have a very special guest, Marcus Strang, Passivhaus royalty.
Well, I would say he's one of 5 royal masters.
Is that the royal king?
The royal king. Who's the king?
Prince Andrew. Too soon?
I don't know how I feel about that description.
You are the Prince Andrew of the Passivhaus.
No, you.
I'm not used to seeing you outside of a mountain bike.
Yeah.
A shuttle bus. It's really weird being in one of the, Marcus and I were both up the south coast of New South Wales and just randomly bumped into each other.
Oh, so that wasn't set up?
Nah. We've been threatening for a while, saying we should go mountain bike riding. And I was walking along the side of the car and I see this person like smiling at me. He's got a helmet on.
You're like, oh my God, take me from Sancton Homes.
I'm like, who the fuck is that guy?
Did I have my stitches in at that point?
Yeah, you did. And I look around and it kind of took me a second. I'm like, oh, fuck, it's Marcus. Yeah. Anyway.
What's your favourite Passivhaus project you've worked on?
I think, anything with wood fibre, rammed earth, anything.
Is there one certified that is the one I would want for my house?
Yeah, I think Bill Top's project. It's like an Enefit project.
Were you trying to say your project?
No, I was wanting to know because there's so many cool ones. I thought he was going to give some diplomatic answer. They're all beautiful homes, but I love that you just owned it.
So what's so good about that one?
I think it just used a lot of recovered materials. He had
Which one's that?
Compressed straw in it and wood fibre as well.
Where's that?
Where is it?
That's in Northcote.
Who's the architect on that one?
He had an architect early on, but then he ended up doing a lot of the detailing, and we worked together to kind of work through.
Was that owner builder?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Can we see it anywhere? Is it on social media?
It is certified now, so I think it is
on the register.
It's on the register,
cool.
at least the PHI one.
Yeah.
Not sure if it's on the Apple one at this stage.
Is it a Passivhaus if it's not certified?
It is certified.
No, but can we call it a Passivhaus if it's not certified?
Well, it's
he's asking the question, can you call a house a Passivhaus if it's not certified?
I guess
the answer's no.
Yeah, no,
I agree.
Stop making him feel uncomfortable, Matt.
Go for it, man.
Marcus, who are you?
My name's Marcus Strang. I'm a Passivhaus certifier designer. I do some teaching for Australian Passivhaus Association.
Yeah.
Anything high performance buildings. Yeah, really get.
So what's your background? I don't think I've ever asked you that. Education, university.
Studied civil engineering.
Yep.
At Melbourne Uni.
Yeah.
But wasn't really so passionate about that. And then quickly found Claire Parry, who just started her company. Yeah, and I was very lucky.
Engineers. They're all engineers.
Yes. And then more recently, since working in the industry for a little while, did a PhD at the University of Queensland, focusing on.
I do want to get to that.
Yeah.
You made it really good. You said high performance. What's your definition of a high performance home? Because Hamish, is there anyone more qualified to give us this answer?
I don't think so.
That's such a good question. I feel like maybe I said high performance very flippantly. What would
you, if something come across your desk and they say it's high performance, when would you be like, no, that's not high performance?
It's probably relative to, I guess, the context of Australian buildings. For me, high performance would mean it's gone through an energy modelling process and it's sufficiently above the conventional energy consumption.
Yeah.
Looking at it's gone some sort of optimization to what is it currently, how can it be improved, what are some low-hanging fruits, and everyone's on board, builders on board, the clients on board to achieve some outcome on that. So I like anything that's really choosing energy efficiency, thermal comfort, good indoor air quality as an outcome, I would say is a high performance building.
What I like about that explanation is that you were agnostic to the modelling, whether it's PHPP or NatHERS. Would you say that to close that off nicely is that there's as-built verification in some degree, whether that's blower door, camera, a third party.
Yep.
Yeah, whether that's in-house with the builder or the architect. I think to close that loop, in my opinion, I agree with everything you say, but just to kind of put a bow around it, there needs to be verification.
And the indoor quality didn't specifically say HRV or airtight.
Yeah, what I liked
is-
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, I think the agnostic sort of terms there are good because I think you can still reach a high performance outcome, but then it needs to be tested.
If it's measurable,
Yep.
if we
Yep.
can say, it is achieving this outcome, then entirely agree. There's no one way to do that.
Yep, awesome. So civil engineer, and then you met Claire Parry, and then what's the journey to sort of end up in the role that you're in now? And
Must have been young as well. Like you would have been very young to be going
straight
to
out of
passive.
uni.
Yeah.
So very fortunate in that, and then kind of specialised in Passivhaus from then on.
wow.
So I was with Gruen Consulting.
Yep.
Back in the day.
With Claire.
Yeah. And then that went to Inhabit Group.
Mm-hmm.
Inhabit Group purchased Gruen Consulting at that stage. Then I went to Jacobs for a little bit, and then they were like a global consultancy.
Yeah.
And that kind of moved more into infrastructure, and didn't really want to be moving that direction completely. So kind of came back again, and then kind of started the PhD from then on, and came over to HIPV Hype during COVID time as well.
So what was the PhD?
So that was looking at pathways towards net zero energy for multi-story, all timber buildings in hot and humid climates. So they kind of had those three different areas of like Passivhaus, like ultra low energy building, CLT, cross-laminated timber, like bio-based materials, and kind of those two things having originated in Scandinavian climates and looking at those in a like cooling dominated climate.
So
because
we said Dr.
Because
Marcus Strang when we introduced him.
Definitely should have said Dr. Marcus Strang. So and if you think about that logically, we're talking about a material in a humid climate that's more susceptible to mold.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because if you just replace that with concrete, what's much lower risk.
So can we dispel a myth, or maybe I'm wrong here? Is Passivhaus required in a hot or humid environment?
I think there's always benefits for the Passivhaus certification process in whatever climate you're in. And those main ones being, can you measure the performance? Is it like, are you actually getting that outcome? And that's part of Passivhaus certification, having that third party to independently review those outcomes and assess that.
Because we always look at cool temperate climates, and I don't know really much about the humid side of things.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming the argument up in, say, Queensland is, we don't ever run the heater.
Yeah.
But do you want to maybe talk about the other things we actually, and go into detail about where the house can
But maybe also talk about why the Passivhaus criteria or the certification was implemented in the first place, because it wasn't about energy efficiency. It was about health.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if we think about health and well-being in our cool climate, it's mitigating the risk of mold build up in our walls from moving inside to outside. Is that right? And then up there, it's the opposite way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's
so it's still the same risk, and it's still the health under the lens of health. And Passivhaus, if it's a certified building, it's just solving that problem.
Yep, totally. Yeah, so we have different climatic factors where instead of vapor pressure going from the inside outwards for most of the year in that heating dominated climates, in those hot and humid or tropical, subtropical climates, can either be more mixed or it's coming from the outside, having really high vapor pressure moving inwards. And we still need to be building that in a really safe way, and Passivhaus standard gives us a framework to ensure that we're not going to build building that's going to accumulate moisture in the assembly itself or in the indoor space, which might mean we need a bit more dehumidification to ensure we're having that thermal comfort and good indoor air quality and low risk of moisture accumulation, but then looking at energy efficiency as well. And thermal bridging is still a relevant thing for making sure we don't have too cold still to cause dew point because we're having the building cool down, actively cooled, and making sure that our cooling demand is still a really energy efficient building. So instead of looking on that side, insulation is still important.
Airtightness is probably more important.
Airtightness is more important. But looking at low E glazing and shading, that becomes more of a priority for reducing the cooling demand.
Yep.
But
Are you having a
airtightness.
full vapor blocker on the outside? Is that
If it depends where you are in the climate, like so Brisbane probably kind of, I don't know, I guess like more of a depends. But then really far like Darwin, Cairns, it is actually more helpful. And I think Proclima do have
they've got the green
product, that's more suited to those tropical climates now.
And would something like Intello from Proclima, who are a sponsor, would you still put Intello on a project like that, or has it become redundant?
It's that Intello, that's the vapor. Not vapor barrier, but vapor layer. It's not so. You wouldn't really have that there on the internal of the airtightness. You would then push it to the external of the insulation. Yeah, because you want it on the warm side, which flips around to the other side. Yeah. So kind of you're kind of condensing a lot of those. Control layers to that same position on the external of the insulation layer, so that weather-resistant membrane and the airtightness all become in that same
one of the same.
It very? I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. Would it just be very easy then in a hot or humid climate to get certified?
Thermal bridges aren't so critical in those climates. Insulation is not as depends. If you're really far north, then insulation becomes more important again. But it is.
Shade the building.
Does subfloor insulation become redundant, less relevant?
Yeah, depends again.
Don't insulate your slab. No way.
In climates like Sydney, you can get away with that. But the further north you go again, it depends on cost and things like that.
You've been talking to Cam too much. It depends.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, like, what is probably interesting to point out here that every single project is going to be different, which is why modelling is so important to actually find out if you're hell bent on getting a predictable result, you need a model that you can't just guess.
And you would have an ERV compared to a HRV.
Far north, absolutely.
Yeah. And then why is that?
Because we have the cooling demand has two different things: the sensible cooling demand and then latent cooling demand, and that's going to help bring down that latent cooling demand.
Latent is like that stickiness.
Moisture.
Okay, so it's the humidity.
If you've got that ERV, it's going to help remove passively some of that humidity in the air because it's going to transfer across
to the across the house evenly. So
does that mean that vapor drain that we put into our HRVs here in Melbourne actually means something up there?
Definitely going to be more.
But you would also still run a full dehumidifier probably in the whole house to some perspective.
And that kind of depends. Like there's many different ways to do that as well. You can have just a standalone unit as long as it has to be installed. Me as a certifier would be checking it's there in the building. Yeah. Then what the client does with it is up to them essentially. But it's got to be there, it can be part of the AC or part of the HRV or however it's set up within the services.
It makes so much more sense.
And also, if you're a client in those areas wanting to build a passive house, you're probably just not going to take the dehumidify, take the photo and take it out as well. Because you're probably actually going to be...
I think you're committed. You're committed to it.
We always talk about residential projects of passive house. Now, you've done a number of, say, commercial, which I find probably potentially the more important part. I think we've both spoken openly at times at schools, childcare centres, hospitals, aged care centres. They to me should be just compulsory passive house.
I agree.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, health wise, it's a no-brainer.
It's odd
to education. You look at look at our kids, young minds. We say we've got this ADHD and autism epidemic, but you put any kid in a fucking classroom with low CO2 levels, they are not going to be concentrating at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
I was never one of the students to kind of sleep in class, but during uni in those big theatres, there'd be hundreds of people in there, and it was I just go. And it was and I'm so sure that it's to do with the CO2. We've got a little CO2 monitor here.
That's pretty good though, isn't it? Is it going to be under 500?
I think that's the overall health rating. It just has 87 written there.
What does 87 mean?
Some algorithms.
So if someone's not watching this, there's a monitor in this little pod that we're in right now, kind of monitoring the air quality.
Hit the hyper tracking us, Amy.
But health is huge. We want to build engaged students. It's not
and it's really tough if you you might not feel it like you feel it with temperature or that, but it has an impact on our productivity for sure.
And I tell you, as a parent, I feel the impact when kids come home in the afternoon, particularly in winter, because they're closing the buildings up. You know, they're not having the windows open, and they're running the heater. And then the kids are feral when they get home from school.
Having the old metal asbestos portables that we grew up with, that one little box in the room.
Oh, do you know, bless the school that we go to, but we've got little portables in there, and it's first day I walked in, I'm just like, oof.
Now you might not be able to talk about, I don't know what projects you got on. You might have, say, NDAs or something on projects. Have you got something that you're working on right now? You're like, this is like potentially a game changer.
Yeah, we have one project that is a school project that's very close to certification.
Awesome.
And it'll be spoken about at the upcoming conference,
Great.
which is really exciting.
Awesome.
And by the time that you guys put this out, maybe it's already certified, I'm not sure.
Awesome. Where's that?
We're acting as a designer.
Clifton Hill?
That's not that one, no. It's in Ballarat.
Okay.
I hope that becomes a test case or case study for...
Has to be.
Maybe for me from a different perspective, like not on site with like as a builder or something or an architect, like you're kind of a little bit more impartial. And I know as a certifier, you play this independent role. How do we start to maybe lift that bottom part up? Like, is there any ideas that you have that doesn't get spoken enough that we just blindly don't look at?
What about, here's a thought, what about rather than saying, and I know it's been on record with me saying this, that I can't understand why everyone's just not adopting it. Rather than saying everyone should be doing it, you celebrate the success stories and then people can see it. I think people seeing it and feeling it is a better sales point than me saying, Matt, you need to build a passive house, or all our schools need to be certified buildings or have proper ventilation. Like I think we need to celebrate them rather than, you know, throw people over the coals saying, why the fuck are you building a house like that, or why are you building a school like that? It's like, hey, there's other options.
But look at a school, the people who are going to rave about it are the people, the kids, probably not the kids, probably more maybe the teachers.
I think it's the teachers.
Teachers. But how do you then get that message across? Because who funds the schools are generally the government. So how do you then get that feedback back to the government, to the right person who goes, teachers loved it. Then they go, did you love your old place? Yeah, I love the old place too. Oh, so why do we need it? Like, you know, like there's... I guarantee once they're in it, they're going to go, this is awesome.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
I don't know. Marcus, what's the answer?
Yeah, well, like with the school project, so that was William Bogue's architects who did that. Really fantastic work, great detailing all the way through. But yeah, I think getting some of that data and like we're talking about, like with the productivity side, and like they're just more engaged. Like imagine having that's like such fantastic information to be able to have. Yeah. But yeah, I think like the videos that you're doing, like we were chatting this morning,
pissing people off,
and just like it's so motivating to see, you know, this is what you're seeing on construction sites in comparison to like this is what you're doing on your own sites, and just the level of quality
Thank you.
difference is incredible. But
simple.
Yeah.
Simple. I think, are you talking about the isolation wrap one?
Which one? Who'd I piss off? Steel frame companies.
But then having more open days and having more, like being able to open up projects, I think is like so. Yeah, I did
actually said that to Liam. Like, why can't you do some form of open up for park life too? And it doesn't have to be to the general public, but maybe to some really important people, and let's get everyone in that space right now together.
Yeah.
Well, I think the proof is in the pudding with that particular building. The fact that you've sold 50% already.
Amazing.
I mean, that data in of itself should be enough motivation for the next developer to build something like that.
Totally. I'm trying to get around to the projects that I do certify, to just physically hand over plaques and things like that, because it's so useful to be able to go in and talk to the clients and walk around the house and see how much they're actually enjoying it. And I did one a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
it was delightful. It was like, again, you got to go to experience it, and I unfortunately don't experience enough passive houses where I live, and just being able to go in is like, it's very motivating, and to see how happy they are, and like to smell the fresh air, which it's oddly you don't really get that experience being in a building very often at all.
I don't know if you know, Hamish, so my house is going for certification right now.
Really?
Yeah, and Marcus.
Did you build a passive house?
Yeah, it was on TV if you didn't see it.
I have to go and check it out.
You can come over and I can't wait to get my plaque from Marcus, who's my certifier. Get that little photo opportunity. But I want to go back to the school thing. Like, when you approach as a certifier, is it anything different compared to a house, or it's just literally the same thing? Like, is there any more
all the
leeway?
principles are the same. All the the modeling, because it's a commercial project, the modeling is quite a bit more involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like general assumptions that goes into residential projects because we know typically how they operate, what people do within them to some degree.
Yeah.
Like there's still, they're all defaults in some regard, but a lot of information is specific to the project. With commercial projects, it's a little bit more in depth to figure out like what
Who's
are the
the-
internal heat gains and
Who's the consultant on that one?
that we are. So
So someone like Rob would run numbers, but then you overlook. Or,
No, so it has to be. We
Yeah.
can't do certification on anything. Even so, if there can be no overlap between any design that we're undertaking and certification that we're undertaking. So
Yeah.
we cannot work on the same project in that.
Even
has to
though
be
you and
completely
Rob are
independent.
different people.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
So,
So you-
probably
yeah.
just to explain that further, Marcus, you're a passive house designer, but you're also a certifier.
Correct,
And they
yeah,
are
yeah.
two different
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So
And
Luke
you-
would then have to go to you.
Exactly.
yeah, or Amelia or Scott
or PHI itself.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. So is that what you do, or you?
No, so in that project, Luke is our certifier. For that.
Geez,
school
that must be
project.
some like cool conversations when you're both like so intelligent on that level. We're like, but you didn't consider this, but you didn't consider that. It's like-
So,
But we all fundamentally agree, but it's a good I mean, being a designer is always a good way to keep learning, and being a certifier is a good way. We're always learning from each other continually.
do you get to certify some of his projects
Yeah,
too?
yeah, absolutely.
It's like if
Yeah.
he's not nice to you, like, well, I'm not going to be nice to you on that project.
do you know what I think that? Okay, and I know that there could be some sort of I don't know what the word here is, but you guys are all friends, but you're all incredibly professional in the roles that you play within these buildings. So even if Luke or Amelia, for example, is the designer and you're the certifier, I know and have experienced you still saying to Amelia, hang on a minute, I still need this and I still need this and I still need that, or I can't do it.
Yeah.
And you're probably
that's-
harder on them potentially because you're like, you should know. Like that's how I'd be. Like I'd be harder on you building my house than
I think this is the reason why it's so great. And I was circling back to what I was saying before about a high performance home needs some kind of verification.
Yeah.
Like Passive House is the next level of verification.
Yeah. And I guess one thing with the independent review, one thing to add there is there cannot be any sort of perceived or real or perceived conflicts of interest. So that's kind of where it comes down to like so we definitely cannot certify and design our own projects, but we can I could certify Luke's, but there still cannot be any kind of perceived or real.
And who makes that call? Is that PHI?
Yeah. So like they would say like if we were looking at doing services on a project, that's something that we can't do, for instance. If I'm taking that certification.
Yeah.
How about failures in Passive House? There's people who have gone for it and failed.
Yeah, I mean, we can't give any guarantee. The earlier that we can be involved and engaged as that certifier, that reduces risk. And something that I'm always trying to do is to be in a position to be able to submit a design stage assurance letter to the client to say, hey, we've done an initial review, we've done a pre-construction review, and that's the construction documentation set. And if it's built as per this documentation, then it will achieve certification.
One of the best investments. Like we spoke about this the other day, and he asked us why we wouldn't put Passive House in a contract that we're going to guarantee a Passive House. It's like, well, what if that they don't go to you, get it pre-approved, and I stupidly my first ever Passive House contract wrote, I'll give you a Passive House. That is so broad. I don't know if the designer screwed the installation numbers up.
I think so Sven came and interviewed us, so that episode would be out by now, and he asked why wouldn't you put Passive House in your contract, and I just said, well, there's too many other players involved in that. But then I think we landed on that I would, but I'd have a special condition saying if these things happen, I won't be liable for not getting certification. So if the calculations are wrong, or
The design's wrong.
the design's wrong.
Client
or there's
changes
a thermal
something.
bridge that gets missed. Like if I put the different windows in or miss out on a thermal bridge, or don't install something correctly, that's 100% on me.
Yep.
Have you had it when you've given your tick of approval and then post that it's failed?
I have not. No.
That's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm actually surprised at that. So I thought someone would have
Not
screwed
like,
it up.
I'm trying to like if it's like airtightness thing.
Airtightness is easy. Retrofits can be challenging, but that comes with experience.
But I haven't had that yet.
Have you had have you had a building where say everything's on track and you gets to the last hurdle, airtightness is good. There's something that, there's a detail that's missing. Have you ever had a builder that has had to go back and undo work or take plaster off? Or?
Not undo work, but just cut open a membrane and take some, get a tape measure out and show, yep, that's it, that's the product.
Yep.
In those cases, it was okay because they could just seal it back up again.
Yep.
And there is some movement there. If everything looks good, but they've missed one detail and they're happy to sign off on it, then
yes.
that's the vast majority of detailing, they've been able to prove it and show it.
So I just got sent this before. I'm gonna kind of hide who it's from, but they're doing a Passivhaus, and I'm like, this is gonna be a huge problem straight off. I'm just screwing the Intello directly, the plaster directly to the Intello.
Yeah, okay.
And you're like, guys, that's gonna most likely fail you.
Well, I mean, it depends on how well the plaster's stopped up.
Yeah, where they're putting the services on a different wall.
It's probably on a different wall somewhere.
But
that could still get airtightness.
Yeah, but my then thinking of you would be well, does that system work in a safe? Is that going to work from a WUFI perspective? Because I know with our retrofit rifle range project, is that you and Cam it was like another language talking about ventilation in the brick cavity, veneer, whatever.
Well, the plaster in that scenario might be airtight, but the Intello at that point might not be.
But you're proving us with no WRB, is a building going to be...
Yeah, that was a slightly different case because this is internal. So this is more like where will services go and will the services keep penetrating through that Intello? And
you could always use the roll flex and stuff, but I thought that you could potentially now have issues with a mold or something getting caught in there.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Less so for that case. With that project, that was more around. It's more probably on that external face where it's in that case we had double brick or
brick
single
veneer.
and then kind of looking at how well ventilated that cavity is.
It was literally another language between him and Cam. I was like,
I love that.
Cam's got his handwritten notes out, and I'm like, I'm just the builder here.
Yeah, so in that case, we wanted to make sure there was a good amount of airflow behind the brick, between the brick and the weather resistant membrane. So if moisture does get there or rain does go there, then it can still dry out sufficiently. Because if there's no air movement, then that dry out's not going to be very good. So essentially, just putting some drainage holes and something like that will promote air movement and allow some drying capacity in that cavity.
I think that's a photo every WePol, I think it was.
I love
5
that.
minutes.
I love that. I love the fact that
I wasn't promised, just go around and take the photos.
One thing I've really been trying to work on just to kind of finish that photo conversation was as part of that submitting that design stage assurance letter, I've been putting together this. I don't know if I've done that for either of you too, but an Excel file which just kind of outlines a checklist of photographic documentation.
And
it just syncs in with the PHP, so it all kind of takes all that data and then just gives it in a format like these are the thermal bridges we need, these are the insulation.
Elsie does that.
Yeah, cool.
So my easiest method is I ask all my team to turn their geolocation on the project. Just take photos. I don't care. Film it. Do whatever you want. I take photos, and at the end I can just go through and go here. Because you can just zoom into the spot. Now there's twice at Cam's. I've missed I forgot to take a photo of the insulation, the ceiling at one job. And I literally had to go through my Instagram stories and go find a video from archives and then screenshot that it's in there. Twice I've had to do that. And you will miss it. So that checklist would come in hand.
That's entirely the point. Yeah. It's okay, well, I can tick that,
And we get complacent because we kind of know it and you just think it's going to, just say, I've got the photo of that. I've got the photo of that.
Well, I think what Nick's doing on, I don't know, are you certifying Ramsden Street?
Yes, I think so, actually.
So Nick's going through and just, as the details coming up, he's taking a photo and sending it off straight away. Just boom, boom, boom. Now you actually don't know this. You've just bought a house.
Yeah,
right?
I do know this.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Just a few days ago. Very exciting.
Which is exciting. Now you're in a position where I would say, like many other first homeowners. So you've bought a house. And you know so much about Passivhaus, and I'm sure you want to turn it into an Enefit.
Yeah.
What are some of the low-hanging fruit things that you're going to do to this home? Because I think not everyone can build a Passivhaus. Let's just acknowledge that for a second. But I'm sure there's things...
Or it might be a long-term goal.
Or a long-term goal. But there's things that you can do now that can help with energy efficiency and health. So what are some of the things that you're going to do immediately?
Good question. It's as far as like moisture control goes, it's probably actually like the worst wall build-up.
Okay.
Realistically,
What type of house? Do you want to give us a bit of a
like it's
rundown?
like a small 3-bedroom house, and I got a very good price on it. Very very happy. In Coburg North.
Yeah.
And it's like on a subdivided property, but is detached.
Brick veneer or double brick? Or?
It's just timber framed,
Okay.
but then has like a couple of centimeters of rendered EPS on the outside.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So from
It could work really well for you though.
for Enefit. Like I'm thinking it'll be easy to upgrade. That's my hope.
Okay.
But yeah, you could potentially open the walls out.
Yeah.
They're all awesome. You're airtight, insulated externally.
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe screw some wood fibre and
Yeah.
beef that up.
That's
and you're
exactly
done.
what I'm hoping.
You're done. Like
Let's see
you.
what
So,
Hamish
let's,
says.
let's go skip the nerdy part for a second. So it's a new home. This is down the track that you want to get an Enefit. But so what are some of the things you're doing now? And what's some advice? I guess it's more what's some advice to the audience who can't afford to build a brand new home with us, can't afford to like do a deep retrofit.
I want to pick you out there. Can't afford to build a home with us. Because,
Sorry, can't afford to build a home.
Yes,
not us. Just can't afford to build a custom home.
It's not us or the passive house or the way that we build
just
that makes
can't
it
afford to build a
expensive.
custom home.
Yeah.
Yes, I just
So
wanted to make that
in my
clear.
project, it'll definitely be a long-term project. Just paying off the loan will be take a while.
Yep.
But I'm really looking at the step-by-step retrofit that Passivhaus does, and like probably most of the changes that I do will just be livability rather than thermal. For a few years probably.
Yep.
Because I want to get some good data as well.
Yeah.
You might be able to certify it without doing anything.
So when you say livability, like changing the layout inside.
Yeah. Like very, very minimally, but like I'd love to just get heat pumps, for instance.
Yes.
So probably just non-envelope related things for a few years, and like I figure it'd be cool to get some existing building data, a few years of that anyway, to be able to have a comparison.
Will you take off some plaster, screw some moisture sensors into the studs?
That'd be good. I hadn't thought about like envelope monitoring, but that would be kind of.
That's probably, but you probably,
well.
because to me that makes more sense than the internal, because by changing it, what you're gonna get to.
Yeah.
To me, it makes more sense to look at the external and be like, well, is that EPS actually doing much, or what humidity do we get to in that cavity, and like, is it moisture?
I think that's
if we
a very
go
good idea.
back to health and cost of living and energy consumption stuff, you mentioned heat pumps, which I think is a great way forward. So heat pumps are your hot water, and they're also your ACs.
The CO2 heat pumps as well, if you can.
CO2 heat pumps, right?
Yeah.
So
domestic hot water. I don't think they have CO2 for split systems yet.
No, I
But
don't.
that would be pretty cool when they get that.
Yeah.
But even still, like your split system AC is
They cost nothing to run.
400 times, efficient. So 1 kilowatt in, 4 kilowatts out. Or what's
So the other day with my passive house, we didn't, one of the hot days, we didn't even consume a kilowatt of energy across the day.
So this I guess what I'm talking about. So these are fabric aside, you can invest a few $1,000s, put a heat pump in, put some ACs on, draft proof some things.
And if you get some PV, so I was
put
looking
some PV on.
The government is still incentivizing.
Yep.
And they're looking at battery systems as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
which I haven't really.
If you do the
looked much
PV,
into.
it comes down to cost. I would strip the roof off completely if the roof's in not good condition.
And put tin on?
Yeah, I'd put it, depending on what you can and can't. But if you're assuming heritage or whatever, but let's assume tin, I'd wrap it completely, batten it, get that system right, and then you're set. That means you're done, you're not touching. The last thing you'd want is put your PV on, everything's crap, then you got to take it off, and there's just an inherited cost along the way. That's how I would approach that situation.
An interesting case study. I've been interested to see
Should
how you can
document it.
iteratively, retrofit an existing home.
So that's exactly what this step-by-step retrofit looks at.
Yeah.
It's like completely. It's not even the PHP. It's like something different, which
Yeah.
allows you to kind of do variants across kind of. Then that way you can kind of pre-certify at these different steps and say, okay,
I get you.
first I'm doing this. Like the heat pumps, and then I'm updating the windows because at the moment they're just aluminium frames, single glazing.
What's wrong with them?
What would you put in?
Some beautiful, like ideally,
The oak.
or FSC pine. That's
I actually like that.
yeah,
From Logic House?
yeah, that would be the gold standard for me.
Yeah, Logic House, do you want to come on as a sponsor?
How about? But the other thing that I think we don't consider enough is air purifiers in the home, the indoor air quality. I think that's something that
How do they work?
I don't know,
Like where do they
purify the air? I don't know.
Do they go through a filter?
I think it needs to be, from my memory, it's going to be ozone free.
Recirculating.
But it's got to be better than not. Like, or even some form.
So they're
of,
just catching particles.
Yeah, I don't know enough. Well, maybe there's a question for Cam.
Yeah.
But I think that like you've got like that's something that improve the air quality and maybe take out some nasties if there's any there is something to.
So I doubt it's going to do anything for CO2.
No.
But
I think it's like your P2.5 or
the particles.
Get rid of that.
Okay, so I'd like to know more, and I'm curious to sort of check back in over the coming years, because that would be really interesting to kind of look at like a zoomed out kind of 5-year renovation, which is probably what's relevant for a lot of people, particularly your age, first home, can't just spend $1 million on upgrading it like that. That's an interesting.
So I've put very little thought into this, but because it's so exciting, it's like so heat pump probably, then windows if that's possible. Then start looking at the envelope.
Your envelope's probably pretty good. EPS and 30 mils still probably.
Yeah, the walls, but there's probably nothing else there, and there's certainly nothing under it's a very small crawl space. There's certainly nothing under the ground. The insulation in the roof is decent, but I don't it's just kind of, I doubt it's been installed in any sort of nicely fitted way. But there is insulation up there.
You got a thermal imaging camera here?
Yeah, we do actually.
Take one, pick the house up, grab a look, and save yourself jumping in the roof. I think the one that I really like, what I would love to push people to do as a building, and I don't know where it is, the outer fit. Have you done one of them yet? Like a certified outer fit? I saw it in the Passivhaus Institute online or something where you do it from everything from the outside. Which is kind of like what you did at Cams.
Yeah, we did that, and
we're funding that. A funding.
We're actually doing a project which we're working on with Cam at the moment in Bry Hill, where we get really close to Enefit. If we can get.
Is this Alexandra?
No. I'll let Cam talk about that one. This one's in Bry Hill. We're now just working through the risk involved in having wood fibre outside that. So we've got timber frame. OSB peel and stick wood fibre. And then we're just trying to work out whether or not we need to move that weather resistant barrier to the outside of the wood fibre for long term, I guess, rodents, bushfire, termites, etc. Styco are saying it's okay to exist there. Certainly on the roof,
without it on the outside.
Certainly on the roof you want to cover it.
Well, Styco also have they have a product that's actually their membrane is in there.
It's like a wax impregnated.
No, they've actually got like a membrane on it. I know. Also saw the other day that Rock will have like a Rock with an Intella already attached. It's actually Intella from ProClimate. It's called Smart Rock, and so you just tape it all. But I don't know. I think that's more from a double masonry internal perspective.
So Rock wool we could do. Rock wool. So our thought process around not using rock wool as our external insulation is, one, it's a fucking pain in the ass to deal with, It's so itchy as fuck. But it's also expanded rock. So it's really energy hungry to produce. Yes, wood fibre's coming from overseas at the moment. There's carbon miles in that, but the production carbon is a lot lower.
But why couldn't you just wrap? My thinking is like, why can't you go the rigid air barrier and just run Mento over the whole external and batten and off you go?
Yeah, but you still where's your extra insulation coming from?
No, you're just getting rid of the peel and stick membrane, and now you're just now moving it to the outside.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's one of the things that we're exploring.
I like peel and stick. It's one of my favourite.
But so that's the conversation we're having at the moment with another project where Sven's like, well, why don't you just put the Extasana and Mento on the outside of the wood fibre? And I'm like, but...
And it's going to be safer from a moisture point of view as well.
Yeah, well, actually, you're obviously going to know a lot more about it than me, but my argument is from an airtightness point of view. This is a big building, and I know if we just monopoly built this house, no external...
0.3 minimum.
Penetrations, if we then sheeted the entire building with 80 mil OSB and put peel and stick everywhere and then externally insulated, like that is bulletproof airtightness. It'd be so easy to get. So that's why I'm really pushing for these couple of projects to explore it. We may land on something different, but I'm like, nah, let's keep pushing and try and find out if it's feasible from a cost and practicality point of view and a safety point of view. before we just put a big cross on it.
I still think if you wrap the whole house in wood fibre and then did say your Mento, because you got to follow planes, you can just literally now see where your wood fibre goes.
Yeah.
You'll still be pretty damn airtight, just because you'll visually see now.
Yeah, okay.
I think it's when you don't, you open truss.
Without the Intello?
Well, yeah, you just do everything from the outside.
So we are exploring putting Intello on the roof in one of the projects, because you've obviously got the most vapor drive up.
Oh, so you've done Intello instead of... Oh, that's
we're not doing Intello on the walls. Well, and I'm trying to get rid of it. So it's 90mm frame, insulated, OSB, peel and stick, wood fibre.
Yep.
So my Airtightness and WRB is sort of in the middle of the wall.
Yep.
But on the roof, we are going to be putting Intello, because you've got much more vapor drive, and then you're actually slowing the permeability through that wall assembly.
Do you have any insulation on the inside then of the Intello? Or is everything going to
No. So in the roof, it's Intello insulation, it's OSB.
Conventional passive house.
Yeah.
Okay.
But just the roof.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, like, have you done an analysis?
Getting done at the moment. Marcus is doing. Not Marcus. Marcelo's doing it. Marcelo's doing it.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That's. I think that's the only thing with if you're like in. I've seen that done a few times in Sydney.
Yep.
Where they've not had an internal airtightness membrane, and that's worked.
Yeah. Well, Cam, I go off what Cam says.
Yeah.
Cam's saying it's fine.
We're about to...
And that's what we did with the range.
Rough range. But I'm about to do one, which I think is about to come across your desk any second, is we're having a crack at a Passivhaus without any Intello at all, just from the outside, external, and we're going to strip it back.
Yeah.
Like, my thinking on this, and it's risky from my perspective from the airtightness, but we want to build buildings to be better is the ultimate goal. Just remove Passivhaus. And it needs to be somewhat affordable. If we keep adding these extra layers to it, which the bee's knees, the Ferrari, is the Intello, but how do we then bring that back to potentially the average person, get that back to an average level, and give confidence to, say, the new builder that's doing a spec home, that you can get airtightness from the outside through just this method?
Well, I'm just going to just stop for a second. So ProClimate are a big sponsor of this podcast, and we're not trying to advocate for removing layers of... Because this is ProClimate have a system, it's tried and tested, and use it. I'm thinking retrofit projects and other projects where maybe they're a bit more cost effective. This is a new build, by the way. Yeah, okay. Maybe they're cost sensitive, that I think you need to explore alternate ways to get airtightness, whether resistive, healthy, low energy buildings. Retrofit's a no-brainer. In my mind, no-brainer.
Retrofits are dangerous.
From the outside.
Get everyone involved instantly.
But ProClimate have a certified system.
Yep. No, I agree. And that's, as I said, that's the Ferrari, and that's the way we should build. But as we want to push more of this, and again, they are a sponsor, but we want to see widespread adoption of better buildings. So how do we just maybe give everyone the confidence that, hey, wrap your house in the extra sauna externally, let's just start there. Okay, cool, everyone's got that. Now let's go into internal. Okay, it's just like maybe we've got to go back to, instead of throwing 4 or 5 new concepts down people's throats. And I listened to the SBA podcast the other day where they interviewed the guy from HIA. And I never thought of, and I'm being very vocal about the issues and the changes and freezing the NCCs. Like, it is hard when you've got 5 different changes, or usually each NCC there's one change. We added 5, so maybe thinking Passivhaus. Let's just start with outside air tightness. Everyone's got that. Let's now add mechanical ventilation. Everyone got that. Maybe we should start with mechanical ventilation first.
I mean, the biggest failure in the NCC changes is the lack of education. That's what I think.
I still don't even know what they are, and I spend time reading it, updating. Like, it's
I'll probably just add from the Passivhaus certification, certifiers perspective. So I've definitely done many hundreds of WUFI analysis on just that typical Passivhaus assembly where you got weather resistant membrane and Intello, and like we were saying, that's bee's knees, and we're definitely happy with that's safe from a moisture safety point of view. But then if we're taking off assemblies, then you just want to have that confidence through doing WUFI analysis for that specific project you're looking on, because it depends on the climate, the color of the cladding,
which wall, if it's out, is it shaded or if not, how much sun's it going to get,
and it's all parameters. So you just want to, if a listener's thinking about that, probably just thinking about if that trading that cost saving, but then still having some in there for some sort of hydrothermal analysis to make sure we're all happy with it.
And the thing, I think, the hydrothermal analysis, you can make pass if you it's all input data.
Isn't it hydrothermal?
Hydro. There you go. Sorry, not hydro. But if you get that's why I call it WUFI. Can you pronounce it? What does it actually mean?
Warme Institution.
Hamish had a crack at it.
Feuchte. I can't even remember.
I was
Warme und feuchte. Man, yeah.
sure.
Heat
Yeah,
and
you know what? You could have said anything with confidence then, and I would have been like, "Yep, that's what it is."
But you could pretend what's input data, depending on what you input. Like we looked at one with Cam the other day, and he's like, "I could chuck it on the west wall that's exposed to a ton of light, and that's probably going to be fine. But let's take the most conservative courtyard south, no sun.
Exactly.
Let's take that wall because that is what will fail first.
100%.
And I think that's what we need to do. Anyone out there just wanting to throw something in the WUFI to get it approved, that's not what it's there for. It's there to kind of do the opposite and disprove what you want.
Absolutely.
We have a segment every episode, and it's called the MEGT Mindful Moment. And I'm going to lead this one, and I'm going to bring everyone into it. So MEGTs are they're apprentice training provider. They've come on as a sponsor, and I guess the whole idea of this segment is to, encourage apprentices to be better. Like they're doing their apprenticeship, they're doing a Certificate 3. So what we're trying to do with this segment is to encourage them to take that next step. And my moment today is, if you're working for a builder, you should have agency to challenge the way that your builder is doing things. In my opinion, you should be saying, "Hey, have you thought about this?" Now, do it in a really respectful way. I don't think you should, call out your.
I saw this on Instagram. This builder's doing this. Don't go
no, don't
way.
do that. Just approach it with a level of open-mindedness, and say, "Hey, I've seen this on Instagram. Why don't we try this? Or why don't we look into doing this way?" A really good external membrane is a really great example. Super low-hanging fruit. Everyone's doing it anyway. You've got people like Performance Membranes. You've got people like us who share a whole bunch of stuff on social media. The information's out there, and encourage your employer to look at these resources to then improve and get better.
Just tell them to ask why. Why are we doing this? As the apprentice going to the builder, go home to your, say to your builder, just think about why are we building this way? Why? I find why to be an extremely powerful word or question to potentially unravel some problems, but you just get to, you can allow people to dive into it a little bit deeper. So, Marcus, I've got a final question for you. What's something that we didn't talk about today that we really should have talked about?
I feel like we discussed some really great meaty topics. So I think, we discussed benefits. I think we all want more of those and need more of those.
But what didn't we talk about?
Yeah. Oh man.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, it's a hard question.
It's a good last one.
It's a good question.
It threw Liam too. He's like, oh. We'll give you some time.
So we spoke a bit about wood fiber, and we all know that's useful to be out, especially if we're talking about NFIT projects like that. That's we want that as well. And I mentioned my checklist, photographic checklist.
Yep.
Another tool that I'd love to probably just mention. PHI have this Excel file. Obviously, it's called MEET. Manufacturer embodied energy, something like that. MEET.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that kind of looks at that embodied energy. So it's looking at, and it just, again, plugs into the PHP modeling and allows you to kind of do not a full LCA, life cycle analysis, but looks at those materials that are in the passive house building, because, the more energy efficient we become, the more the operational energy efficient, the more that embodied energy takes up that larger ratio of that equation.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the buyback period of a home, you're operational. So your embodied, your operation's easy. Yep. Operational carbon's an easy thing to do. Your buyback for the embodied energy is a lot harder.
Yeah, and I think was released maybe a few years ago, but I think not many people have seen that or looked into it, and it's not part of certification. But I think it's worthy to look at as a.
I actually didn't even know. I didn't know it existed.
Yeah,
so I've just written it down. I'm going to do some more research on that. I'm super interested in that.
Just as responsible designers, builders, I think it's good to ask those questions and ask why can't we do this, or is it actually, because you were talking about wood fiber coming internationally versus mineral wool that's perhaps like
EPS
local,
or,
being able to
You can't win
make
sometimes.
those, and sometimes what we think intuitively isn't always the correct, or like it's just worth asking those questions.
But you know what I think? What the big takeaway from here is actually just asking the question.
No dumb question.
Yeah, just ask the question. Hey, what about this, or what about that, or why do we do this? Oh, because we've always done it that way. Oh, okay. Why don't we look at this?
If that's your answer, someone says, "Oh, we've always done it this way," that is the biggest red flag to deep dive deeper. Now, I've got one more question because you said EasyPH. Now, Cameron said it's cheating, and he said it's the cop-out way to get a passive house. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts might still be a bit controversial on that as well. From the certification point of view, it doesn't really save much time on my point of view. There is some simplification there. And then on the designer side, I haven't found it to save too much time in my workflow yet either. There's some simplification.
It's not so easy.
Yeah, not yet, and it is beta still, so it's still like beta. It's not like publicly released technically. So I would say, I think in time there's probably going to be more streamlining for that. And I think, maybe if you're using only certified components, certified assemblies, that might help to do it that way. But I think there's the error performance becomes a bit larger, but perhaps that's not a big issue. If depending on who you have in and who's operating and occupying that building, it's probably a fairly large error in the energy consumption anyway. But that's my thoughts. I don't know if that really.
No, it's good. On behalf of, I'd say, the whole Passive House community, thank you for so much everything you have done. I would say for that community, your wealth of knowledge has been amazing. You've helped me on many times and many projects. You're always approachable. Your team here at HitBit Hype are pretty damn awesome. Looks like you've got an extremely good culture here. So thank you very much for everything that you guys have done for us.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.